Good morning. Who held the key and currently holds the key to great expectations? Back in 30. Hi, this is Jan from New York City, and my channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. So nice to be back live. How's everybody doing today? If you're brand new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're a veteran here, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to talk today about great expectations and who held the keys. Yes, two types of people in our lives held. But first, I have a very special guest, so bear with me 1 second.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
Good.
Thanks
How
so
are you?
much. Good. Thank you so much for being here, Steve. We're
Mhm.
talking today about great expectations. And I just want to go over this for a minute, and then we'll go on to your wonderful story, what happened with you, with your teacher growing up. Okay. And in my case, too, it both involves teaching. So this is a good thing. Okay. You know, we started off in life with others, adults in our lives that had great expectations of us. And for example, when we were young, our parents or guardians held great expectations for us. They expected that at some point in time, we could hold our own bottle at the very beginning, hold our own baby bottle to feed on. They expected our first baby steps in order to crawl and then eventually to walk. They knew one day that we would cut our first baby teeth. These are great expectations. Okay. Then we started going to elementary school, and our teachers and principals had high expectations of us, getting good test grades and doing our homework steadily and having good educational habits. Okay. Then finally, after years of education, we perhaps got a job or started a business. And our new boss had great expectations of us. Well, how about you? How many great expectations do you have of yourself? Because there are two types of people in our lives that had great expectations of us: the folks I just mentioned and us. Steve, I'd like to begin with your sweet story about you when you were growing up and your teacher, and how that great teacher's expectations were wonderful.
Well, one one of my elementary school teachers, my fourth grade teacher, sticks out like a sore thumb. She was somebody who believed in me, and she knew I had a lot of potential, and all of that. But one thing about her, I mean, I could call her out by name, but I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll get lucky and she'll run across this video or live and watch it, and then she'll know exactly, knowing that it's her because of what I'm about to describe and what she taught me. There's a couple of things that I learned from her that stuck with me to this day. One of those things, I guess you can say, in certain ways it does benefit, especially if you're trying to look at the year or the date of watching a television show or a movie, or Roman numerals is what I'm getting at. Roman numerals. She taught me Roman numerals, and it stuck with me to this day. I mean, I know I pretty
Wow.
much go backwards and forwards. That's one. And the other one is when we were doing science, uh, especially when it came down to the solar system.
Uh-huh.
There's a little sentence that she taught me, and the first letter of each word going down the list or going across when you say represents where each planet falls in the solar system. And to this day, I remember it. My very eager mother just sent us 9 pizzas. Each one of those first letters represents where each planet is. Again,
Cool.
we all know that Pluto is the furthest planet away. Earth, we always knew was the third. My very eager, 3. You know,
Awesome.
so when I think back, those are a couple of things that, and I'm sure there's other things she taught me as well, but those 2 things in general stick out like a sore thumb to me. And I still know it to this day. Is it of any real importance? Probably not. But that's what I do remember from her.
But that teacher made such an impact in your life. Here we are. I don't know how many years ago that was exactly, precisely, but all these, let's just say safely, decades later, you remember that lesson. That person, that teacher cared enough so much for her students that she really let that lesson come through. And she had great expectations that you kids were going to remember that. And yeah, it actually does have an impact. And there are things that you just mentioned I didn't even think about. So as far as I'm concerned, that is absolutely wonderful, Steve. Thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome. And the thing of it is this is something that I was taught probably back in the middle 80s. And look at what year we're in now, 36 years later.
36 years later. I mean, I can't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday, let alone.
Yeah, yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. I'd like to share my little story, and then I'll come back with you, both of us, in a minute. Okay, Steve?
Okay.
Great. Bear with me. Just getting to work this. And there you go. Okay, it didn't come up. I'll try it again. Excuse me, everyone. Just practicing on this layout. Okay, thank you, Stephen. I'll be back with you in a minute. I just want to mention there's a high school teacher in my life that I don't even know if she's alive, or I hope she is. I hope she's doing well. I'm going to try to look her up, and I'm going to send her this broadcast. I want to thank her for this. I'll never forget this. Her last name began with letter B. She was not a nun. She was not a priest. She's a she. She was a regular Catholic school lay teacher who actually was not even Christian. She was actually Jewish. But I found it very, very fascinating that she, was working with us, and we all worked together very nicely. Making a long story short, one day, this is right before senior graduation, back in 1976, back in the dinosaur era. Okay, just saying. But it was like her last lesson to us. She taught us stenography, if you ever recall what that is, okay? Stenography and typing. Real typing on a typewriter, real stenography. Greg Shorthand took that for a few years, as well as the regular academic stuff. But the last lesson she had with us, we had her a couple of years. So it's not like somebody we had 2 seconds. So we knew this lady, and she really cared about her students. But she had written on the board with 2 special words. And I highly recommend this for anyone who wants to teach a great lesson. She went to the board, blackboard, she drew an arrow, and then she put 2 words. What were the 2 words? Aim high. Aim high. What does that mean? Then she went on with the lesson about aiming high in life. She had great expectations of class of 1976. The class that she taught for us for a couple of years. She had high hopes for us. She didn't want us to settle for a second best. She wanted us to achieve our very best. That lesson never left me. I went on to become a teacher years later. And the last day of school, yes, Mrs. B, I stole your lesson, but it was a valuable one. I went to my blackboard and I drew that arrow too. And I indicated on the blackboard, aim high, even to the little ones. Great expectations, Great expectations came from our parents, our guardians, our teachers, our principals, even our friends, and even our family. But the next person, and the hardest person to have the great expectation for, who really holds the key, is ourselves. That's a lot harder. Sometimes it's easier to measure up to someone else's standards. And we're motivated and we keep going and going and going. But when we're on our own, that top of that mountain gets a little lonely and we need that motivation to keep going. I'm going to bring Steve back. We're going to talk about this. Hi, Steve. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
And you can see, Steve, where this information, impacted me. Who knew that on a random Friday back in 1976, that one day Mrs. B's lesson would become my lesson to my students, and just something that I kept in my mind. Words are so important. Look at the words of your teacher. I'm sure you had other encouraging people in your life as well as that, wonderful teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But it can make or break you. But here's the real question that I'm going to throw around to everybody, because I'm going to tap on the comments in a second, Steve. And the question is this: is it easier to be the key holder, or is it easier to get the great expectation from someone else and move along with them? Personally, at times, I find it's way more difficult to be the key holder and give myself that great expectation and move forward. Is anybody else with me on that? And why do you think it's like that? Do you have any opinion about that, Steve? Why it might be harder to be the key holder?
I think it is too. I think it's more difficult being the key holder because, I don't know, I guess because when you're the key holder, you have to be the one to initiate or be the one to, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but what you're doing is you're telling all of your students,
No, you're wonderful. I agree with you. We're on the same page of this. And and I'm wondering, why is it so much easier? I'm just wondering, I'm going to tap on the comments. Maybe somebody could enlighten us or have an opinion about that, or mention an influential, positive person that had great expectations of you. Look back at our parents, all the expectations they had of us.
right?
Sometimes we kind of let them down. We didn't mean to, but sometimes we let our parents down. But they had high hopes for us, We need to establish a pattern of believing in ourselves a little more to achieve higher things. Just saying. Let's tap on the comments. Steve, let me know if you can see the comments when I tap on them.
I see all of them. I see everything.
You do? Okay. I just now started. Okay, let me get my trustees. Oh, it's so nice to see everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Human in Trading. How are you today? Happy Thursday. Wanda's saying hello to both of us. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Wanda. Yeah, good morning to everybody. Thank you for popping on.
So sweet of you guys. Human in Trading. In high school, the nun told me I would be a file clerk. At 40 years later, I still am a file clerk, making a good living. Guess what?
Oh.
Human in Training. I started off my very, very first job. It was like the bridge job before you get another job. I was a file clerk for a wonderful organization that helps CPAs out. And it was fun. It was great. Good for you. A Motown girl living in a southern world. I love that name. Thank you, Steve. I am about ready to teach about my daughter about space. I am going to use that in our homeschooling lesson.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful.
That is so frapping cool. This is why I love lives. This is why I love interaction. Steve, that's amazing. Look what your teacher did with you and you just shared. Excellent.
Yeah. I'm just going to refer to her as Mrs. W.
Okay. Okay. And Motown girl living in the southern world saying hello to everyone.
Hello. Good morning.
Vida or Vida? I'm going to say it as Vida. Vida happy on a budget and more. Hello, Jen. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello. Vita is saying to you, Steve. Hello, Steve. I hope you are feeling better.
Um, I am. I'm like I said, um, for those that may or may not know the story, I hurt my left foot last month, and I got back to where I could walk. But what happened is I think I rushed back into things too quickly. And like
Yeah.
I said, when I took a fall, and tomorrow will be 1 month. I am walking a little bit. What I'm doing, and Jan can vouch for this, I'm standing up. I'm able to stand up on my own. I'm able to take a bath. I can get up and out of the tub without using the railing. And I've got a chair that I get in, to help me out as a transport. But what I'm doing is I'm standing up and I'm walking around my bed with my hand a little bit lightly, but one thing I did do yesterday, I wanted to tell you about, is I did take my hand off the bed again, and I took 3, maybe 4 steps on my own.
Awesome. Yay. We're all
So
cheering on.
I go
Yes.
back to the old, I'm going back to the old saying, slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long it takes for me to get back on my feet like I
No.
was, but I want it to be right, because what caused me to get back to the way I am is I decided to play Mr. Weekend Warrior. My brain thought I could do a 5K marathon, but my body, no, that wasn't the
Yeah.
case. So
Yeah, no, we are so glad. I could speak on behalf of all of us here. We are so glad that you're making, really, really good recovery.
yeah, I'm
That's
trying. I'm trying.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for sharing that, by the way. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Getting back to the great expectations 1 minute, I have great expectations, Steve, that you'll make a full recovery. And no matter what the length of time is, that's irrelevant. The length of time is irrelevant, but I have full great expectations that you'll make a full recovery. So, and that's the truth. That's really,
Yeah.
really.
Me too.
But getting back to like great expectations of ourselves, I think part of the problem is that we have a lot of self-doubt. And that was its own show. I did, if you recall, Steve, a few weeks back, I did a show about self-doubt. We need to lose it. We need to instead replace all of that with great expectations. I woke up this morning, I had tiny great expectations. I said, you know what, Jen, you're going on live today and you expect to see some familiar, wonderful faces. And here they are. Here they are. So including you, which is wonderful, awesome. And I have here Linda Olson.
Oh, good morning.
Good vibes, yes. And a Motown girl is.
Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Yes.
You guys are absolutely wonderful. Steve, it's easier said than done, but all of us, I don't think there's a human being on planet Earth that doesn't put negative thoughts in their head and get a little bit of fear and trepidation of branching out. And it's okay to make a mistake and just try again. Just keep that great expectation of yourself going. We've all been through a little bit of a trauma these last 12, 14 months without getting into it. Let's just call it trauma, right? Trauma. But I have great expectations that things are going to get better, much, much better. And because this is not the forever place. You know what, Steve? Do you think that, for example, a person that can't save, do you think that that's their forever place? Or is it possible that they could change their life and make it that temporary place?
I think everybody is capable of saving. Everybody's capable of making a change in their life. Is it always for the better? Let's hope so. I mean, there are times that we make choices that can make things worse, but that's not what we're after. But anybody's capable of saving. My mom, God rest her soul. Excuse me a minute.
If you need to kick out, let me know.
No, I don't. I'm going to leave a message, and I don't like it when I'm interrupted like this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway.
No, it's not.
Human in Training is had left a comment. I'm going to read it while you're dealing with that. Human in Training. Honestly, I don't think the nun had great expectations of me, but I made the most of my brain. Well, that's good. You made the most of your brain probably because you, more importantly, had great expectations of you. Don't get me wrong. It is wonderful that our loving teachers and our loving parents and anybody else along the way in our life had great expectations of us, as we go along. But the most important one to have the great expectation at the end of the day is you. Because we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, something, I just don't want to settle for mediocre all the time. I just want this to be better. When I say great expectations, I don't mean like let's land ourselves like on another planet or anything type thing, meaning us personally. I mean our own little individual daily expectations that are great to us. It doesn't have to be monumental to the world, but it has to be great for us.
It does. But before the little phone call, and I told the person I would get back with them
Yes.
later on.
Oh, thank you.
Mentally, yes, mentally where I was is everybody is capable of saving money. My mom, God rest her soul, she always said this, and it is a true fact. Money comes and it goes.
True.
If you use it, things that have, like if you're going to use it to help yourself get out of credit card debt, even though that's another topic within itself, or you want to pay off a loan or pay off your car or pay something down. You look at what you have, you say, oh, but it's hard for me to recover that money. I don't know how. Well, look at it this way. Go ahead and withdraw and knock out, because that's extra baggage you don't want at that moment. Get rid of it. Pay off your car. You get your title. You don't have to worry about the finance companies. Pay off any debt. But guess what? You can easily take $100, $150 a month or whatever it is. You can slowly add that money back.
Yes.
At some point, it might take you 6 months, a year. You're going to put that money back as long as you stay with it. So, I hope that makes sense.
No, actually, it makes 150% sense because you're bringing up a topic that is very true. Because people might say, we're talking about great expectations, and yet this is a so-called budget channel. There is a great correlation between our mindset and how we handle our financials. What you just mentioned locks itself like a key in a lock. So your mother's thinking was 100% right. You're bringing it up. I really appreciate it. Yes.
I mean, think about it. Okay, a mortgage or a house, I understand. That's several $100,000, $80,000, whatever. I understand that. That's harder to knock out. But if you only owe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on your car, or you have that much credit card debt, get rid of it, because you're going to have a good expectation of getting rid of baggage that you don't need. One, you're going to have a paid off car. It's 100% yours. Nobody can come after it. It's got a clear title. You clear up your credit card debt. It raises your credit score a little bit. Unfortunately, it's not going to shoot it way high, but it makes you look better, your debt to income. But like I said, that's a great expectation, because you're taking care of something that's just sitting there lingering on. I'm guilty of that a little bit. So I understand, what that's all about.
I can't tell you how glad I am that you brought that up. There is absolutely correlation, because where the mind goes, everything else follows, and that includes the financials. If you think you could, I can never save 5 cents. I'll always be in debt. I'm just going to live the, horrible lifestyle, whatever, being stuck. If you want to be stuck, you're going to stay stuck because you're choosing to be stuck. You do not have a great expectation of yourself. It sounds like you have like a very negative expectation of yourself, which is sad. I think that's sad. I want to address 2 comments just for a minute, Steve. We'll be
All right.
back.
Okay.
Motel Girl says, Jan, I tagged you a couple of weeks ago in my money-saving Instagram post. I hope you could check it out when you have time. I certainly will, Motown Girl, and I apologize. I'm very awful in the IG world. I'm very wonderful in the YouTube world. But as far as IG, I need to, check it out more often. So that's on me, and I totally apologize for that. And thank you for tagging me. I'm sure it's wonderful. So Vida says, especially for me, since having kids, I have higher expectations for myself constantly to set a good example. Good. And they have now high expectations for me. Sometimes it's hard, but it keeps me going and motivated. Yes, yes, yes. It's, that's a good cycle to be on, actually, Vida. I think that's wonderful for your kids. Motown Girl agrees with Vida and being a role model so our children will follow in our footsteps. This is wonderful. No coffee in this one, Steve. I have water in this one.
Yeah,
you have coffee with yours?
I've got peppermint tea with me this afternoon or this.
Oh, yummy. I love peppermint tea.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everyone for being here. We all have to really reconsider our own expectations of ourselves. That's something only we could think of ourselves individually. But I thought it was a good topic. And Mrs. B, if you do get to watch this, I want to personally and humbly thank you. All these years later, thank you so much. Steve, do you have any words? And just in case finds this?
I mean, I don't know the probability of my 4th grade teacher viewing this live. I mean, I don't know if she's a YouTuber and she may accidentally say, hey, wait a minute. He looks familiar. I believe he was one of my students. But there's no telling.
You're right. But you know
what?
What you said it all anyway. That was a wonderful, wonderful tribute.
Yeah, it was.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Oops, ask Pammy. A few years ago, I told myself I am tired of debt. So I got serious, created a budget, and became debt-free 8 years later. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
That's an example of great expectations.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is. Very much.
We're so happy for everyone who achieved your great expectations. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you again, Steve. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Have a great day, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.